In the spring of 1941, the war in Europe seemed almost decided. Poland had fallen. France had collapsed. Yugoslavia was crushed in days. Greece was bleeding, its armies retreating south as German tanks rolled through the Balkans. And yet, in the eastern Mediterranean, one island still stood defiant: Crete, a rugged land of mountains and olive groves, surrounded by deep blue seas. On the map it looked insignificant. In reality, it was a strategic dagger pointed straight at Axis supply routes, and Adolf Hitler knew it. What followed would become one of the strangest, bloodiest, and most consequential battles of the Second World War, a battle where the enemy did not arrive by sea. They came from the sky. To understand why Crete mattered, we need to rewind just a few weeks. In October 1940, Mussolini's Italy attacked Greece from Albania, confident and unprepared. The Greeks not only resisted, they pushed the Italians back, delivering one of the first humiliations suffered by the Axis. Hitler was furious. Germany could not allow Italian failure to destabilize the Balkans, especially with British forces landing in Greece and threatening the vital oil fields of Romania. In April 1941, German forces invaded Yugoslavia and Greece simultaneously. The result was swift and devastating. German troops bypassed Allied defenses, Athens fell, and British, Australian, and New Zealand soldiers were forced into a desperate evacuation. Many escaped by sea under constant air attack, but not all of them. Around 40,000 Allied soldiers were withdrawn to Crete, turning the island into the last Allied stronghold in the region. For Hitler, Crete was unfinished business. Crete was not just an island. It was a floating airbase. From Crete, British aircraft could strike Axis shipping, threaten the Balkans, and potentially reach the Romanian oil fields. As long as Crete remained in Allied hands, German control of the eastern Mediterranean was incomplete. But invading Crete posed a serious problem. The Royal Navy dominated the sea, making a traditional amphibious invasion extremely dangerous. So Germany chose something radical, something never attempted on this scale before: an invasion carried out almost entirely by airborne troops. On May 20th, 1941, the skies above Crete filled with the roar of aircraft engines. Hundreds of German transport planes appeared, escorted by fighters. Then parachutes opened, white, green, gray, dotting the sky like falling snow. The elite German paratroopers, the Fallschirmjäger, were descending directly onto Allied positions. It was a breathtaking sight, and a terrifying one. But almost immediately, the invasion began to unravel. Crete was defended by a strange mix of forces: British, Australian, and New Zealand soldiers evacuated from Greece, poorly equipped Greek units, and local civilians. The Germans expected shock and confusion. Instead, they landed into gunfire. Many paratroopers were shot before they even touched the ground. Others landed without weapons, which had been dropped separately in containers they never reached. Entire units were destroyed within minutes. Cretan civilians joined the fighting, attacking stunned paratroopers with old rifles, knives, and farm tools. By the end of the first day, German losses were catastrophic. For a brief moment, Operation Mercury teetered on the edge of total failure. Everything now depended on one location: Malem Airfield. If the Germans captured it, they could land reinforcements. If they failed, the invasion would collapse. Due to confusion, exhaustion, and poor communication, Allied troops holding the high ground above Malem withdrew, believing they were outnumbered. They were not. But the decision proved fatal. German forces seized the airfield and transport planes began landing under fire, bringing in mountain troops, artillery, and supplies. The balance shifted. What began as a near disaster turned into a slow, grinding German advance across the island. Over the following days, the fighting grew increasingly brutal. Allied troops, already battered from Greece, fought stubbornly but had no air cover. German aircraft ruled the skies, bombing roads, positions, and retreating columns. The Royal Navy tried to intervene, intercepting German seaborne reinforcements, but paid a terrible price. Ships were sunk, damaged, and crews killed under relentless air attack. It became clear that Crete could not be held. On May 27th, the order was given to evacuate. Once again, Allied soldiers retreated, marching through the mountains toward the southern coast, short on food, exhausted, and under constant bombardment. Thousands were evacuated by sea. Thousands more were left behind and captured. By June 1, 1941, Crete had fallen. Germany had won, but at an enormous cost. Thousands of elite paratroopers were killed or wounded, far more than expected. Hitler was deeply shaken by the losses. He declared that large-scale airborne invasions would never again be attempted. Crete became the first and last strategic parachute invasion of the war. Ironically, the Allies drew the opposite conclusion. They studied Crete carefully, and years later used airborne forces in Normandy, the Netherlands, and beyond. For the people of Crete, the suffering did not end with the battle. German occupation was harsh and unforgiving. Entire villages were destroyed in reprisal for resistance, and mass executions followed. Yet the island never truly submitted. Resistance continued in the mountains and villages until the end of the war. The Battle of Crete was more than an invasion. It was a gamble, a warning, and a tragedy. It showed that even the boldest military innovation could fail when human resistance was underestimated, and that a victory could still feel like defeat. And it proved one haunting truth of the Second World War. Sometimes, the sky itself becomes a battlefield.